In this episode, you will learn how to be brave, bold, and ballsy as you face career and life transitions with lessons from someone who has done just that. Welcome to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast, a podcast helping women in career and life transitions achieve clarity on their next steps so they can transform uncertainty into an energizing next chapter. I'm your host, Kavita Ahuja, and the founder of It's My Time Now Coaching. If you're wondering what's next in your career or life, you are in the right place. Through solo and guest episodes, you'll gain practical tips, tools, and inspiration to help you uncover blocks, gain confidence, and be, do, and have what you want. I rediscovered myself after the age of 50, and I know you can too. It's my time now to help you do just that. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Are life's challenges keeping you stuck? What if you could turn every setback into a stepping stone towards abundance, success, and fulfillment? In this episode, you will gain lessons from our guest, Meirav Rosenberg, on how to turn challenges into opportunities for success and abundance, the power of celebrating your strengths even when you doubt yourself, and why treating yourself as a business can transform your life. So listen now and don't forget to stay till the end for a special offer just for you. Welcome to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast, a career and life transitions podcast. If you're asking yourself, what's next? You are in the right place. I interview incredible women across the globe for this podcast who share their stories of reinvention and who will give you their insights and expertise on how to rediscover who you really are, what you really want, and how to get there in your next stage of life. This week, I am thrilled to have on the show Meirav, as they call May Rose, Rosenberg. Meirav is on a mission to transform life's challenges into opportunities for growth and success. As the founder of Paz Agency and Paz Interactive, she has spent over 17 years helping businesses and individuals elevate their digital presence and unlock their potential. Meirav believes that resilience and adaptability are the keys to thriving in both personal and professional life. I am so thrilled to have you here today, Meirav. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's really happy to see you, and thank you for having me.
Yes. And you're currently in Israel.
Oh, I am.
Yes. So, well, it's just a pleasure to have you here. I just was hoping that we'd start off with just sharing a bit of your story. And I understand that you had struggled with many things and hardships in life, and yet you turned type of this adversity into resilience and success. And you had mentioned and shared the story of losing your father when you were young, and also that you were divorced and raised young twins. So it's really an interesting story, I would say, of grit and grace. So if you could share that with our listeners, that would be wonderful.
So I actually grew up as a religious child in Jerusalem. And I grew up in a very, very, very religious, Orthodox, I would say, surroundings and neighborhood. And Jerusalem is a tough place, I would say, to grow up in. At the age of 7, my father got this opportunity through the Ministry of Finance in Israel to become a diplomat and move all the way to New York City, work in the Empire State Building. And so from a really, not even small city, a really big city, but like small life, I would say, we moved all the way to New York. He was the chief financial officer for the Ministry of Finance in New York from the Israeli government. And he was really great at his job. He was really great as a husband, and he was really great as a father. And then when we were 10, again, still religious, living in Queens, me going to a yeshiva of Central Queens, which is like a very religious school, private Jewish school. And we have a day that is called Yom Kippur, which is a very, very high holiday. And I remember my father being in shul the whole Shabbat. It came on Shabbat. And then the next day he went and picked up the person who was actually the minister of finance from the airport. On that morning, coming back, there was a lot of rain and he lost control of the car. I remember just two people knocking on the door Sunday morning. We're at home with raincoats and wasn't even regular officers. It was like diplomatic officers that came to tell my mom that my dad was in a car accident and unfortunately he did not make it.
Oh, no.
I remember that at the time, I think I was a very spiritual child at the time. I was conditioned differently.
Mm-hmm.
Because religion is very different, I think, than spirituality. But I remember at the time, do you remember those paint by numbers?
Yes.
I had just finished painting a tree.
Mm.
And he hit a tree.
Mm.
And it was like something that I still remember to this day. My mom calling us down, telling us slowly that he was in a car accident, not telling us that he died yet. And then obviously, probably 15 minutes later, letting us know that our father has died.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I remember being really, really, really sad, but also like in denial a little bit about like, no, but I still feel him.
Yes.
He's just in the sky. And like, I was 10, so I rationalized it. And I think I did make a pact somewhere, not specifically 10-year-old me, to keep being in a joyful mode. Even when I'm sad, I still do not want to fall into sadness, which is, I think, a very special thing that I learned very early on and needed to learn very. And so I remember going back to Israel, burying my father, and then my mom making a decision, a very brave decision to bring us back to the United States, finishing up the school year that we had started. And then by the end of that year, we would go back to Israel. My mom, I think, had a lot of grief with my dad dying. I think they had an amazing love and today I can understand that. And so I think she did the best that she can. She always showed us what it is to be a really hardworking career mom, which is definitely something that my mom always was. She was a nurse. She worked at 2 clinics when we were in New York. And then moving over to Israel, she actually was the head nurse of a very, very big hospital here. So we always saw, I think, that a single mom, unfortunately, be a working mom. She was always like an employee of a very big company and always made her own money, even when we were very, very young. And so that's, I think, what I saw.
Yes.
But I was a very angry teenager.
Yes. That's a really tough thing, I guess, to go through when you're so young. But I love what you said about, even though you were in so much grief, you said you learned to keep being in a joyful mood and don't want to fall into sadness. And then that's a wonderful perspective, despite it's such a great loss. And the role model you had with your mom as a hardworking career mom. If you could talk a little bit about your career, we talk about transitions here, and you had transitioned in your career, and I found it really fascinating that you were able to raise you had twins, and
I have actually 3 kids.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, yes.
No, I have twins and another one.
Oh, yeah. So I understand that you transitioned your career into one that really aligned with your values, and that you wanted to be there as, like, I guess, like your mom, hardworking career mom, but also that you could spend time with them and raise them and also receive abundance. So tell us a little bit about how that What happened there? What kind of challenges that you found when you were transitioning in your career, and how did you manage to? What would be some of the lessons or something about facing these transitions with courage? Because you obviously had to have a lot of courage to do that.
I actually had to have a lot of courage to have my own business because, like I said, both of my parents have been employees for certain companies. So being an independent, I think, was not a thing that I ever learned from modeling or anything like that. But I did have, I think, priorities. And I actually did not. Like, I wanted to have a career, but I also really wanted to be a present mom. And I went into fertility treatments to have my twin. I got pregnant with them. It was a very, very hard pregnancy due to A, being twin, B, being, I think, very young and not having such a supportive husband. And so I think they were born, I think when they were 3 months old, I have had enough. Like, I did not get any help. And I found my superpower. It's like in those moments that you have such a crisis, like I said about my dad, right? It's like, okay, I'm not falling into this sadness. And plus, I wanted these children so badly, and I want to be present with these children so badly. And it took me a while. It took me a long time. It took me a long time. And then I remember we had this opportunity where I had wanted to relocate with my children, same as I was a child, because I felt like it was an amazing experience. And I love New York. And it's like if I could live in New York all of the year, now I go back and forth with my business, but if I could live there that's my place.
Right.
I have a very good life in Tel Aviv, and it's a very difficult place to live in, but I appreciate it dearly. There's good things and bad things in every place I've lived. But there was an opportunity in 2017 to have an American visa with my business, my advertising business. The Israeli branch had a different branch in New York. And so I could do an American visa and just go over to New York and live there with my children and my husband at the time. And so I did.
Nice.
And so I worked for the visa. And I remember there's this movie that I loved when I was a child, Fields of Dreams.
Yeah.
And there's this sentence there. And it was like, if you build it, they will come.
Yes. So did you teach yourself? Like, you said it was really difficult to start in your own business. So did you teach yourself how to do that? And
So
what led you to do that?
I did find a job when the kids were 1. I was with them until they were 1 and loved it, absolutely loved it. And then I looked for a mommy position where I did find in the city municipality in a theater hall being the marketing director, which I studied marketing. I studied marketing in business, and I also studied theater in high school. And I did not want to become an actress, but I definitely enjoyed the theater. And so I thought, this is the perfect job for me. So I met the manager of the theater hall, and she accepted me for the job. And I remember her saying, I didn't know how it was going to work. Like, you're fire, I'm fire. What's going to happen? And she was the adult that believed in me, I would say. She's the one who pushed me out of my comfort zone, and she did it so gracefully. We're best friends to this day. And I still work the marketing for the theater hall, and not as a marketing director, but obviously through my agency. And she really taught me how to, like, okay, you're going to do the website. We don't have a budget. We need a website. Like, I knew what to do because I was young. And because there was Facebook and I got into that, I was a computer instructor in the Army. And so I already had kind of all the skills that were needed to build a website. It's funny because up till then, it was only programmers building websites or only designers. giving it to programmers. But I think what I figured out is that that's not how you build a good website. You need to think about what the client wants,
Right.
how marketing works, where they're going into the website. It could be the most beautiful website, but like, is it what they need? Because like, what do they need? And that's marketing 101. What do they need?
Yes.
And so I knew what they needed and I knew how to build a website. And that's how I built the first website for the theater hall.
Right.
And I thought, oh my God, I didn't know it was creative. I didn't know that I knew how to create things. And so I loved it. And like I said, there was the 25,000 in my head and I was not making that in a mommy position. And I'm thinking, okay, I could do this. I could do this. I could work night. I could make more money doing this. And that's how it went. I started telling everybody about it, like friends, family, and said, I know I built this website and like, I was so proud of myself doing something that actually worked. People were buying tickets finally through it was amazing. And like Google Analytics, what is that? And learning new things that has always made me very happy. And I think that's something that Martha Stewart, she said like learn something new every day.
Yeah.
And you'd be very, very happy. And I just heard her say that, but I completely agree with that. And so that's how I started working nights as a web designer.
Yes.
Already knew how to do the marketing through the theater hall with newsletters, Facebook ads, Google ads that I already did physically for the theater hall. So I did that for other clients. And then I remember going on maternity leave with my third child, which was 2014. So I opened up the business in 2011 and I had to quit my job at the theater hall just because I was making probably 5 times as much and definitely surpassed the 25 mark. Was very happy with myself, moving to the dream apartment, doing everything that I wanted. And like I said, relocating.
Yeah.
Business.
Yeah. That's such a great story because I think it's what I get from that is that you really almost like followed the crumbs in your life. Like you didn't let these things get you down, but rather like they pulled you up. And you said you're in the army, took the skills, your computer skills from the army, your theater experience, and then you saw an opportunity to help them grow. And it's like, I'm just gonna build it. Right. And so I just think that's a really important message for anyone listening is that when you believe that you don't have skills to do something, like you got to look and dig and say, well, yes, I do. And these are my strengths. And even though they may not be exactly applicable to, or you think they're not, you can follow the crumbs of your skills and your passions and create something just like Meirav did in terms of building this amazing business. And it may not be right or a linear path, but it will get you there, right? And the abundance will flow. And I want to, if we can kind of shift to that a little bit in terms of, I think you and me both believe this concept that money is energy, right? And especially as women, it's so important for us to be confident in receiving abundance in the money, especially, right? And you talked about how you surpassed your goals, I guess, and you probably continually are. And you also talk about treating yourself as a business. So the whole money concept is something that I don't think is talked about enough, the abundance concept. And so how do we treat ourselves as a business plan, and how do we practically receive that abundance in our lives?
It's an amazing question. It's
Yeah.
a big, amazing question where and I think that the breadcrumbs is something that I call your CV, your life CV. Okay. So like some people find their purpose very early on and some people, it takes a while. Some people even find their purpose like me and then have wait, was that it? But then you need to add on, I think, more skills in order to, I would say, grow the vessel of the receiver. Okay. But I actually speak about specifically women as a business plan. And what do I mean by that? So I did study BA in business, and that did help me with a lot of things, such as strategy building. And one of the things that I love about all of my strategies is the SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis is where you kind of have like a square where you highlight a business or a person, strength, weaknesses, opportunities,
And threats.
and threats.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so let's just take me as an example of what I think is some of my strengths. So yeah, I'm computer savvy, and I also am very logistically amazing, and I love being nice. Okay, so just three, I have like a gazillion. I really do. And it took me a while to put more and more and more on that strength board. I also have weaknesses. I have hormones. I do. I have hormones that actually disrupt me when they get me tired or I'm in pain, and then my workflow isn't as great. So you need to be aware of those weaknesses. Then you have opportunity. So really the opportunities, like you said, are those breadcrumbs. Where do you notice them? You notice them when you write your strength. When you take out like a brain dump, I would say, out to a piece of paper, you'll find those opportunities. So let's say I wanted to build a website. How would those opportunities have arrived if I did not speak? So one of my greatest assets is my voice. And I don't mean the technical voice. I mean, I have a voice.
Yes.
I know how to say things out loud. Not a lot of people do, but those are one of my strengths. So how am I getting the opportunity? Through one of my strengths. And then we have the threat. Threats, a lot of businesses would say it would be competitors, but I don't believe in that. I don't think there are any threats to your purpose, because God put you here. You have a purpose, and He's going to let you know what that is. And there will be no competition to that purpose because you're one of a kind. There's only one of you. So really, I actually don't believe in threats, but put that down if you have any so that we can work on it like any business would.
I think maybe the threats may be the internal threats that we talk ourselves out of things. That might be a threat, right?
Exactly.
Like your limiting beliefs.
You're your
and
only
those.
threat.
Yes.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
are your
Yes.
only threat. And
Yes.
what those inner talks with
Yes.
yourself, that I'm not worthy,
Yes.
that's a threat. That's a threat to you, isn't it?
Yes.
And
That-
so I feel like the more threats you have, the less you are able to receive.
Yeah.
Because weaknesses could be a really, really great point of reference in the future when we're talking about vulnerability and showcasing those weaknesses and connecting with audience that can feel your weakness and be happy that you shared it. But threats, that's you. And that's something that you really do want to work on.
Yeah. So it's almost like, how do we turn these weaknesses into opportunities using our strengths?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that way of thinking. It's a really interesting model because there's different ways of approaching life, approaching your career. I talk about Ikigai in terms of finding your strengths. What's the sweet spot between strengths, passions, values, and what the world needs and the environment you're in. And this is a very interesting way of looking at it because there's going to be all of those elements, but how do we leave our life and follow the breadcrumbs and to seize on those opportunities?
When you look at yourself as a business doesn't ask for permission to exist, nor should you. A business has to have a great business plan. And that brings me to probably setting up goals. What's your mission statement? What's your values? What are you talking about with you? And can you uphold those values and boundaries and everything that you set up to do and those goals? And I think once you have that, that's kind of probably 90% of your business plan. Now you need kind of a plan to get it to go, right? And that's the easy part. It's setting up and scheduling and making sure that you do everything that you can to just begin to do it.
I guess if we take it further, and this analogy is that a business, obviously, there's branding in a business, and how based on your analysis. So it's personal branding too. Like, how do you want to show up in the world? How do you, based on this analysis or this plan that you have?
I had a potential client, call me this week.
We'll cut that out. But sorry, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
I had a potential client this week call me up, and she's moving from being employed in a big bank in Israel, and she wants to go on her separate way, like in her independent, in a good way. And she's actually helping people be a presenter, and she does lectures, and she asked me a very, very, very amazing question. She said, I've done a little bit of research and compared between different lectures. And she says, some take 2,000 and some take 15,000. How do they know what to take? And I said, that's an amazing question. The one answer that I have to give you is branding. The way that you are branded, and by the way, the branding really depends on the growth of you as a person. Yes. Meaning, if you highlight more strength and if you embrace your weaknesses, and you'll find more opportunities and work on the threat, then you're like the money, and that's the money part, by the way, the receiving, the understanding, the worthiness, it's all the same bottle, right? Mm-hmm. It's all the same energy. Then it all kind of correlates into the personal branding that you're just speaking about.
Yeah.
When you appreciate you more, you're more talkative, I would say, about what you do. And if you're afraid of exposure, that's one of your threats. Mm-hmm. And exposure is a very big part. And exposure can happen in very many different ways. And branding can happen in many different ways. But still, when you show yourself to this world, when you connect to other people, and that's really what happens, right? If we look at all of the people that have, 100K plus influencers, and they're starting to make money off of meetings, and they're starting to make more money off meetings. How do they do that? Just because there's more people connecting with them, and they are one person that can offer a service or a product, and they can't cater to everybody. They're not even supposed to. They go higher. The price goes higher. Mm-hmm. And it's just
abundance. Yeah. The abundance just flows when you are in that sweet spot. And I love that when you said appreciate you more. And I think that's what I think I find that many of my clients, when they want to do that, when they want to put themselves out there, it's the threat of, what are people going to say, or how am I going to look? And it's these feelings of our own limiting feelings or beliefs. And so I often say, well, you have to have that belief in yourself first. And it's so important to have that internal belief in yourself and I guess your higher self. If we don't have that internal belief that it's actually done, whatever way you want has actually been done. It's already happened. And it's just a matter of execution. So it's an interesting philosophy of, we are spiritual beings, and how can we turn this self-belief and all this branding stuff, it's all practical, but how we can actually turn that into practically abundance and power into our life. Women who are listening have self-doubts. They have all these feelings that are limiting them. And so I think for me, it's like believing in your higher self, believing in your strengths, your power, internal power. That's just my belief, but maybe we can talk about it.
I completely agree that we need to believe, but I do also think that there are practical ways in order to start believing. So not everyone comes, I think, with like an engine that has self-belief. And right, I also think that we have not been conditioned to believing in ourselves. Not something that I feel I received in school where you do not get conditioned to understand that you're very special or have a belief or even understanding or awareness or awakenedness of the higher. But I do know how to help women, I think, because I come from the business side, how to make small moves. And I think that the moving and the flow and the currency, money currency, and just like the flow of the moving and the forwardness and taking even small, tiny steps if you're like starting out and you're scared. And those moves in the right direction can really help you with your belief system. And so I would like, for me, doing small things can really go a long way. If we're talking about abundance, one of the practices, and by the way, I love the word practices because practice is not a one-time thing. It's a many-time thing.
Yeah.
You don't practice one time. Athletes are not better than you. Well, they're better than me, but they're not better than you. They just practice something so much time. And they also have the love of that certain football, whether it's studied when they were young, something stuck, even they have a skill. How do you hear, like, I don't know, sometimes I give the example of Beethoven, where they were like born like that.
Right.
But most people aren't born like that. I was not born like that. Okay. I did not wake up like this. That's all I have to say. Yeah. Like and I think making small moves. So if it's about abundance, I say thank you about everything that I have. And it doesn't really matter at that point what I have that is more than others. It's just seeing what I have. A lot of people can say, oh, but look at her and what she has. And yeah, dude, you don't know where I started from. I'm very happy that's what you think. But I feel like because it comes from me and because I had to make so many things out of my mind happen, I can help other people. And just, I have the belief. And I think if someone believes in you and tells you what to do and you actually start doing and actually start seeing results, then that belief can change. When does that belief not change? When you do not do it for you, then nothing is going to happen for you.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. The small moves, the small actions. I always say we can talk all we want, but unless you take the action and daily, weekly, monthly, yearly actions, then that's the only way your confidence is going to increase. That's the only way you're going to start believing in yourself and really realize that you can do it. I mean, you and me both started in, like, when I started this, I didn't know what I didn't have the confidence but I just did it. And I said, this is what I want to do. And this is the same thing you were saying, you're sharing, is that this is what I want to do. And I know I can do it. Why can't I do it? These are all my strengths. This is what I'm passionate about. And it has to flow. It has to flow, right? It could take a longer time. It's just the belief and the action. I think those are all I love that forward movement. That's so important.
I just started reading Matthew McConaughey's Green Light.
Yes. I'm reading that too.
This is the best book to read on Audible. All I have to say. It's like, he's amazing. And I love the fact that he gives red light, right? Yellow light and green light.
Yeah.
And what does he mean by that? In my opinion, if we're talking about the move forward, like if you get stuck or if you enter a red light, then just like stop for a second and see if you want to keep going into the red light or let's pivot. Let's pivot. Maybe there's a green light over there. And like you said about you saying, I want to do that, but it also worked out for you. So I feel like we do need to check if everything is going the way that we want to. And there's this favorite sentence that I hear, where is rejection is just God's redirection. And it really was a journey just to understand kind of where God is taking me
Mm-hmm.
to the best possible option. And
Yes.
God is telling me, God, my higher self, the universe, you choose the name, is telling me this is not for you. Who am I?
Yeah.
Tell you otherwise.
Yes. I love that. Yeah, it's following those green, red, and yellow lights in your life, right? And responding accordingly. So great. So great.
And
So, Meirav, this has been a really enlightening conversation and really, really important. I think I just from hearing your stories and challenges you've gone through, but also how you've really just, you're so full of life and energy. And I really love that. So thank you so much. And before we get into where to find you and all that, maybe just, I know that you talk about being brave, bold, and ballsy. So just maybe a little piece of advice for women who are listening about being brave, bold, and ballsy.
if I'm going to take off from the SWAT, I think that some people are born with being bold, brave, and ballsy. And some people are, even though they were born to be bold, brave, and ballsy, have been conditioned to be otherwise. So I'm just saying, if you want to get what you think in your head, and I think that that's the most important part. What do you want? First ask yourself. Don't ask anybody else what you want. Say it out loud, write it down, say it out loud to yourself, say it out loud to a loved one. Just say what you want. I had too many meetings this week with women asking them, how much do you want for your service? And them not even being able to answer me for at least 3 minutes. I actually yelled at them saying, how much do you want? Like, it's an easy question. And you have something in your head and they wouldn't take it out of their mouth. And I feel like, do that. Think of me yelling at you, how much do you want? And like, you can have anything that you want. That would be probably one of the things that I really want to tell all the women everywhere. Your circumstances do not at any manner determine who you're going to be and who you want to be. And also, I think being ballsy is kind of not asking permission to be who you are. You do not ask anybody. If we're spiritual beings, we are worthy by just existing in this world. So who am I asking permission from? Me? My higher self? The universe? He's with me. They're with me. All of them are with me. So that's kind of what I think about being ballsy, not asking permission to be who I am. It takes a while to find yourself back, right?
Yes.
We lost ourselves. We've been conditioned in a way. And this is kind of like, I think midlife is exactly the place where okay, this is the time that you find yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also being brave because it's scary. It's scary.
Yeah. And you can have, as you said, you can have anything you want. I love that. I love it. Thank you so much. That's amazing. So tell us where we can find you and all that good stuff.
So to find me, obviously, you can find me if you need anything with marketing or anything to do with a little bit of high energy vibe. You can find me on Paz Agency, www.pazagency.com. And then obviously reach out or see me on social. Everything is there. You could also hook me up and talk to me with my email, Meirav, Meirav at pazinteractive.com, which you can also find obviously on the website. And I do have a lecture coming up where we're going to talk about the gift of story, meaning how your story is actually a gift to so many other people. And that's kind of a lecture that I'm bringing out soon, in a digital marketing course that I'm also coming out with soon. So a lot of things in the works.
Amazing. Wonderful. And we will have all your links and information in the show notes. And again, Meirav, it was a pleasure having this conversation.
Thank you so much. Have a great, amazing rest of your day.
Well, what an inspiring conversation with Meirav. If there's one thing to take away from today's episode, it's this. You have the power to reinvent yourself, no matter your circumstances. Whether it's stepping into a new career, starting a business, or finally claiming the life you truly want, success starts with believing in yourself and taking action. And if you're ready to take the next step, I invite you to check out my comprehensive online course, It's My Time Now. It's designed to help you gain clarity, build confidence, and create a step-by-step and concrete plan to move forward in your life with purpose. No more waiting, because your time is now. Head over to our website at It's My Time Now Coaching or schedule a free consultation with me today. Simply email me at kavita@itsmytimenowcoaching.com to learn more and start your transformation today. Thank you so much for listening. And if this episode resonated with you, please don't forget to subscribe, share with a friend, and leave a review. And I'll see you next time. Stay well.